All right, let's get going. Today is one of those classes that doesn't look like construction on the surface. There's no rebar, no concrete, no MEP coordination on these slides. But I'm telling you right now, this is one of the most important business classes you'll take in this program, because it's about how the company you work for, or the company you eventually start, is actually built. Not built out of steel and studs, built out of legal structure, ownership, liability, and leadership. Here's the way I want you to think about today. Every single contractor you'll ever work for made a decision, at some point, about what kind of legal animal their business is going to be. Sole proprietor, partnership, corporation, LLC. That one decision affects everything downstream. Who's on the hook when a project goes sideways? How the company gets taxed? Whether they can even get bonded for the job you want to build? And what happens to the business when the owner retires or dies? And then the second half of today is leadership, because once you understand how a company is structured, you have to understand how it's led. Those two things, structure and leadership, are what separate a contractor that survives 20 years from one that blows up after one bad project. So that's the deal today. Two big ideas: how construction companies are legally formed and structured, and how they're led. Let's get into it. Here's our roadmap. 5 pieces. 1. Why legal structure matters. Before we get into the specific forms, I want you to understand why a construction person should care about this at all. It comes down to 4 words you'll hear me repeat all day: liability, taxation, bonding, and continuity. Burn those 4 into your memory. 2. Sole proprietorships and partnerships. These are the simplest forms a business can take. And I'm going to be straight with you. For a commercial GC, they're usually dangerous. We'll talk about why. 3. Corporations and LLCs. These are the forms that actually protect commercial contractors. This is where most of the companies you'll work for live. 4. A side-by-side comparison. We'll line them all up: liability, taxation, compliance, so you can see the trade-offs at a glance. And 5. Leadership styles. Transactional, transformational, servant leadership. How real superintendents and project managers actually lead crews and teams on a job site. The through line for the whole class is right there at the bottom: business structure plus leadership. That's what runs a construction company. Let's start with why structure matters at all. Okay, big picture first, then we'll drill into each one. What is a legal form? A legal form is just the recognized structure you use to organize and operate a business. It's the legal container the business lives inside. And that container determines 4 things: how the business is owned, how it's managed, how it's taxed, and, this is the big one, who is held liable when something goes wrong. And why does that matter to you, a construction person? Because your legal structure directly drives your liability exposure, your tax efficiency, your ability to get bonded. And in commercial construction, no bond means no job, your business continuity, and your overall commercial risk. Every one of those things is life or death for a contractor. Now look at the 5 forms across the middle. Sole proprietorship, owned and run by one person. Simplest, cheapest thing to start. General partnership, 2 or more owners sharing ownership, management, profits, and liability. Corporation, and this splits into C Corp and S Corp, a separate legal entity owned by shareholders. LLC, the limited liability company, a flexible entity that combines liability protection with pass-through taxation. We'll spend real time here because in Texas this is the default for a huge number of contractors. And joint venture, the JV, this one's different. It's a temporary partnership between 2 or more companies to go after one specific project. You see these on the big public jobs. Now look at the table at the bottom. This is the whole class in one grid. 5 forms across the top and down the left side: liability, taxation, bonding capacity, continuity, commercial risk. Look at that first row. Sole proprietorship, unlimited personal liability. General partnership, unlimited personal liability for all partners. Corporation and LLC, liability is limited, the owners are protected. That single row, right there, is why most serious commercial contractors are not sole proprietors. We'll come back to this exact table at the end, so don't worry about memorizing it now. Just feel the shape of it. The three takeaways at the bottom sum it up. Choosing the right structure affects your protection, your profitability, and your ability to grow. Evaluate your goals and your risk tolerance before you pick. And remember, your legal form affects everything, from liability and taxes all the way to your reputation in the market. Let's go form by form. Sole proprietorship. The simplest legal form there is. Look at the top row, the 5 things we're going to evaluate every form against. Ownership, one owner. That's it, one person. Liability, unlimited personal liability. Hang on to that. Taxation, pass-through. It goes right onto the owner's personal tax return. Schedule C if you want the form number. Continuity, limited. And that's a polite word for fragile. And commercial GC fit. Best for very small, low-risk work. What it is, one owner controls the business. There's no separate legal entity between you and the business. It's the easiest thing in the world to start. And here's the catch. Your business obligations are personally tied to you. Key advantages, and they're real. Low startup cost, simple administration, direct control, income and losses flow straight to you. If you're a guy with a truck and a ladder doing small handyman or specialty work, this is genuinely fine. But the major risks, the owner is personally liable for debts, claims, and contract obligations. Your personal assets, your house, your truck, your savings, are exposed. Continuity is weak. If the owner leaves, dies, or sells, the business basically ends. And it's a poor fit as project size and risk go up. Let me make that concrete. Imagine you're a sole proprietor and you take on a commercial job, say a small tenant finish out. Something goes wrong. There's a water intrusion claim. The owner sues for $500,000 in damages. Because there's no legal entity between you and the business, that lawsuit doesn't just go after the company. It goes after you. Your house is on the table. That's what unlimited personal liability actually means when it shows up at your front door. Commercial GC implications. It can work for small service or specialty operations, but it's usually risky for a commercial general contractor. Bonding, insurance, and credibility are harder to scale, and one serious claim can directly hit the owner. Bottom line, simple and inexpensive, but the lack of a liability shield makes it a risky choice for most commercial contracting. And the industry note tells you what actually happens. As risk, staffing, and project size grow, firms transition to an LLC or corporation, which is exactly where we're headed. General partnership. Now we've got 2 or more owners. Top row again. Ownership, 2+ owners. Liability, joint and several. Write that phrase down. I'm going to explain it because it's the scariest 2 words on this slide. Taxation, pass-through by default. Continuity, agreement dependent. GC fit, risky unless very carefully structured. What it is, 2 or more co-owners. And here's something that surprises people. A partnership can arise by agreement. You sign something, or by conduct. You and a buddy start doing jobs together, splitting money, acting like partners. In the eyes of the law, you might be partners even if you never signed a thing. That's why a written partnership agreement is essential. Advantages, simple to form, pass-through taxation, you share capital and expertise, flexible internal arrangements. 2 people bring more resources than one. That's the appeal. Now the major risks. Each partner can bind the business. Think about that. Your partner can sign a contract, take on a debt, make a promise, and you're on the hook for it, whether you agreed or not. And then, joint and several liability. That means a creditor or a plaintiff can come after any one partner for the entire obligation. Not your share. The whole thing. So picture it. You've got a partner. You each own half. Your partner, without telling you, signs a bad subcontract or runs up a debt. The other party comes to collect, and they can collect all of it from you because you've got the deeper pockets that day. Then it's on you to chase your partner for his half. That's joint and several liability. That's why I tell students, never go into a partnership on a handshake. Disputes over authority, profit, and exit are common, and continuity is unstable without a strong agreement. Commercial GC implications. Shared resources can help small ventures, but risk is high if authority is unclear. Bonding companies and lenders will scrutinize the structure, and most contractors end up converting partnerships into LLCs, corporations, or formal JVs for bigger work. A partnership can share resources and ownership, but commercial contractors should never operate one without a strong written agreement and clear risk allocation. The industry note nails it. In contracting, partnerships usually get converted into LLCs or corporations to get liability separation, governance, and continuity. So let's go look at those. Corporation, C Corp and S Corp. Now we're stepping up into the structures that actually protect commercial contractors. Top row, ownership, shareholders, liability, strong liability protection, finally, taxation. And here's where C and S split. S Corp is pass-through. C Corp pays entity-level tax. Continuity, strong. GC fit, strong fit for growing or established contractors. What it is, a corporation is a separate legal entity. This is the key concept. It exists apart from the people who own it. It's owned by shareholders, managed by directors and officers, and it stands on its own legally. Key advantages: a strong liability shield, if you maintain the formalities. Better continuity and ownership transfer. The company can outlive its founder, shares can be sold. Credibility for larger projects and bonding. Bonding companies like seeing a real corporate structure. An S Corp status can improve tax efficiency. Let me explain the C versus S thing simply, because students always ask. A C Corp is taxed as its own entity. The company pays tax on its profits, and then if it distributes money to shareholders, that gets taxed again. People call that double taxation. A C Corp makes sense when you've got lots of owners or you're planning aggressive growth and reinvestment. An S Corp is a tax election that lets the profits pass through to the owner's personal returns. So you skip the entity-level tax, but it comes with rules. Limited number of shareholders, restrictions on who can own stock. For a small to mid-commercial GC, S Corp is often the sweet spot. Major risks and limits. Corporate formalities must be followed. This matters. If you don't hold your meetings, keep your records, keep the business money separate from your personal money, a court can pierce the corporate veil, and that liability shield disappears. C Corp face the entity-level tax. S Corp have ownership and stock restrictions. And, important, personal guarantees can still create exposure. Even with a corporation, when a small contractor goes to get a loan or a bond, the surety or the bank often makes the owner personally guarantee it. So the shield protects you from a lot, but not from a personal guarantee you signed. Commercial GC implications. Good fit for established or growth-focused contractors, supports bonding, succession, and multi-owner operations. Clear governance helps decision-making, and record-keeping and separation have to stay clean. Corporations offer strong structure and continuity. S Corp status is often attractive for tax efficiency. C Corp may fit larger ownership and growth plans. The industry note. Many mid-sized contractors operate as corporations when they want formal governance, long-term growth, and easy transfer of ownership. The LLC, Limited Liability Company. If you remember one form from today, make it this one, because in Texas and in most commercial contracting, this is the default choice. Top row, ownership, members. That's what LLC owners are called, members, not shareholders. Liability, limited liability protection. Taxation, flexible, usually pass-through. Continuity, operating agreement dependent. GC fit, very common for commercial contractors. What it is, a separate legal entity owned by members. It can be member-managed, the owners run it, or manager-managed, they hire a manager to run it. An operating agreement governs the roles and the rules. And the whole thing is a hybrid. It takes the liability protection of a corporation and the flexibility and pass-through taxation of a partnership. Best of both worlds, basically. Key advantages: liability shield for the owners, flexible tax treatment, fewer formalities than a corporation, and it's a good fit for small to mid contractors. That fewer formalities piece is a big deal. You get a lot of the protection of a corporation without all the meeting and minutes overhead. Major risks and limits, and don't gloss over these. Poor record-keeping can weaken the shield. Same idea as piercing the veil. Your operating agreement needs to address control and exit. What happens when a member wants out, or when members disagree? Personal guarantees still create exposure, same as the corporation. And state filing and compliance still matter. An LLC isn't set it and forget it. Commercial GC implications. It's a common choice for commercial contractors. Works well for growing firms and family businesses. The flexible structure supports multiple owners, and it balances protection, taxes, and ease of administration. And look at the industry note. It's literally shaped like Texas for a reason. In Texas and many other states, LLCs are a common default choice for commercial construction firms. When you go interview with contractors around here, look at their legal name. You're going to see LLC over and over. Now you'll know why. For many contractors, the LLC is the practical middle ground. Strong protection, flexible taxation, simpler administration. That's why it's everywhere. Joint venture. The JV. Now, this one is different from everything we've covered, and I want you to hold on to that difference. A JV is not a permanent company structure. It's a tool for one project. Top row. Ownership. 2 or more venturers, usually 2 or more companies. Liability. Agreement and entity dependent. Taxation. Depends on how the JV is structured. Continuity. Project specific. It ends when the project ends. GC fit. Strong fit for large single projects. What it is, a project-specific collaboration between firms. It can be a contract between them, or it can be set up as its own separate entity. Each party contributes something, expertise, capital, or capacity, and it usually ends when the project ends. Key advantages, and this is why they exist. JVs combine resources and bonding capacity. Say there's a $300 million federal courthouse going out for bid. Your company is solid, but you've never bonded a job over $80 million. Alone, you literally cannot get the bond. You don't have the capacity. But you team up with 2 other firms in a JV, combine your bonding capacity and your balance sheets, and now collectively you can bond $300 million. That's the move. JVs let firms go after work that's too big for any one of them alone. They also let you share specialized expertise and local knowledge, pursue larger or public work, and allocate risk and profit by agreement. Major risks and limits. Authority must be clearly defined. Who makes the call when partners disagree? One party's poor performance can drag down everyone. You're tied together on this job. Disputes over scope, profit, and control can get expensive. And insurance, indemnity, and exit terms have to be precise. Commercial GC implications. Common on large, complex, or public projects. Useful when one firm alone lacks the capacity or qualifications. A strong JV agreement is essential. And, say it with me, it is not a substitute for a permanent business form. A JV is a tool for one project, not a permanent company structure. Use it when scale or expertise has to be combined, and document the rules in detail. Commercial contractors use JVs all the time for major public, infrastructure, or specialty-heavy projects. Okay, switch gears with me. We just spent half the class on how a company is structured. Now we talk about how it's led. Because here's the truth. You can have the perfect LLC, the perfect bonding, the perfect org chart. And if the leadership is garbage, the projects still fail. Structure is the skeleton. Leadership is the muscle. The big idea on this slide, right at the top, effective construction leaders adapt their style to the project phase, the team maturity, and the field conditions. There's no one magic style. The best leaders switch styles depending on the situation. Hold that thought. 3 styles. Transactional leadership. Rules, structure, and performance tied to clear expectations and rewards. Best use in construction. Field safety compliance, daily operations, quality checks, schedule discipline. Strengths. Clarity, accountability, consistency. Watch out. It can feel rigid if you overuse it. This is the here's the standard, here's what happens if you hit it, here's what happens if you don't style. Think of a superintendent running a safety program. That's transactional, and it should be. Transformational leadership. Vision, inspiration, motivation for long-term growth. Best use. Culture building, company improvement, change initiatives, developing your future leaders. Strengths. Engagement, innovation, long-term performance. Watch out. It needs structure to turn the vision into actual execution. This is the leader who gets people bought in. Here's where we're going. Here's why it matters. I want you to grow with this company. Inspiring, but you still have to ground it in real steps. Servant leadership. The leader supports the team by removing obstacles and enabling success. Best use. Crew support, coordination, mentoring, cross-team collaboration. Strengths. Trust, morale, team development. Watch out. You must still maintain accountability and make decisions. Service is not the same as being a pushover. Now look at this, situational leadership in practice. This is the whole point. Crisis or safety issue. You get more directing, more transactional. No time for a group hug. Somebody could get hurt. Developing an employee? You coach, you go transformational. Team blocked by obstacles? You shift to servant. You go clear the path for them. Same leader, 3 different styles. Read the situation. And see these 2 tracks down here. The PM track and the field track. Project engineer to project manager to VP of operations on one side. Craft worker to superintendent to VP of construction on the other. Those are the 2 roads up in this industry. And notice the number, roughly 20 years, $65,000 climbing to $175,000 plus. We're going to come back to both of those tracks in detail. But the headline at the bottom is the lesson. The best leaders in commercial construction do not rely on one style. They match the approach to the people, the risk, and the project needs. Let's zoom in on transactional leadership, because in the field, this is the bread and butter style. Definition: leadership centered on clear rules, performance expectations, compliance, and consequences or rewards. Best use: field safety compliance, daily operations, quality control, schedule discipline, repetitive production tasks. Strengths: clarity, consistency, accountability, fast course correction, dependable execution. Watch out. It can feel rigid if overused, and it may reduce initiative or creativity when conditions actually require people to adapt. Look at the common construction examples: daily huddles and task assignments, checklists and inspection hold points, production targets, corrective action for safety or quality issues. If you've ever been on a job site at 6:45 in the morning for the daily stretch and flex and task assignment, that's transactional leadership in action. And in practice, crisis or safety issue, you get directing and transactional. New or inexperienced crew, you give them clear rules and close supervision. The result? Compliance, safety, quality, and predictable execution. Bottom line, transactional leadership is best when standards matter most and immediate compliance is critical. On a job site, that's a lot of the time. Transformational leadership. This is the style that builds companies, not just projects. Definition: leadership centered on vision, inspiration, change, and motivating people toward long-term performance improvement. Best use: culture building, company improvement initiatives, process change, leadership development, quality performance improvement. Strengths: engagement, innovation, buy-in, higher morale, long-term organizational performance. Watch out. It needs structure and follow-through. You can lose all your momentum if the vision never gets translated into clear action steps. Construction examples: rolling out new company standards, improving safety and quality culture, mentoring rising leaders, leading technology or process change. When a company decides, we're going to be known as the safest contractor in this market, and the leadership actually inspires people to live it, that's transformational. In practice, when a team needs direction, you add structure and expectations. On an improvement or growth initiative, transformational leadership is at its strongest, and the result is buy-in, improvement, and sustained change. Best when people need purpose, buy-in, and long-term improvement. This is how you take a good company and make it a great one. Servant leadership. And don't let the word servant fool you. This is not weak leadership. It's some of the strongest. Definition: leadership centered on supporting the team, removing obstacles, serving others, and helping people succeed. Best use: crew support, cross-trade coordination, mentoring, team development, improving field office collaboration. Strengths: trust, morale, collaboration, retention, stronger team development. Watch out, and this is the key. You must still maintain accountability, standards, and timely decision-making. Service is not the same as passivity. A servant leader still makes the hard call. Examples: clearing job site obstacles, supporting crews with resources, coaching younger employees, resolving coordination barriers. The superintendent who notices a crew is dead in the water because a material delivery is late, and instead of chewing them out, picks up the phone and gets them what they need. That's servant leadership. They serve the team so the team can perform. In practice, team blocked by obstacles, the leader removes the barriers. Developing a team member, you coach, support, mentor, and the result is trust, momentum, and better team performance. Best when the team needs support, trust, and obstacle removal to perform. The best superintendents I've ever known lead this way, and their people would run through a wall for them. Now this is the slide a lot of you have been waiting for. What's the actual career path in this industry? There are two main roads, and this is the first one, the project management track. The business and office side of leadership. The path: project engineer, project manager, VP of operations. You move from supporting and coordinating up to full project and company leadership. Project engineer: this is where most of you will start. You support document control, submittals, RFIs, meeting notes, quantity tracking, and basic field coordination. You're learning the machine. Project manager: now you own it. The budget, the schedule, the buyout, change management, client communication, overall project execution. The PM is the quarterback of the project. VP of operations: you lead multiple teams or projects, oversee strategy and performance, drive company-level execution and accountability. And the core skills that grow along the way: contract administration, cost and schedule control, communication and leadership, coordination and decision-making. See how it develops. Early stage is documentation and coordination. Middle stage is project ownership and decision-making. Advanced stage is operations leadership and strategic oversight. This track is the best fit for people who like documentation, coordination, leadership, and the business side of project control. If you're the kind of person who likes managing the contract, the money, and the client relationship, this is your road. And here's the other road, the field leadership track. Built around craft knowledge, production, safety, sequencing, and field execution. This is the boots-on-the-ground side of leadership. The path: craft worker, superintendent, VP of construction. You move from hands-on production all the way up to full field leadership and company influence. Craft worker: you learn installation, productivity, safety, tools, materials, and trade-specific field execution. You learn how the work actually gets built with your own hands. Superintendent: now you lead daily field operations, coordinate the trades, enforce safety, manage sequencing, and drive schedule performance. The superintendent runs the job site, period. VP of construction: you oversee field leadership across projects, set standards, mentor superintendents, and strengthen company execution. Core skills that grow: trade knowledge and planning, crew leadership and safety, sequencing and coordination, field problem solving. Early stage is hands-on production and learning. Middle stage is crew leadership and job site control. Advanced stage is multi-project field leadership and standards. Best fit for people who like field execution, crew leadership, and turning plans into built work. And I'll tell you, there is no shame in either of these roads. Both lead to a VP chair. I know people who built tremendous careers and great livings on the field track without ever sitting behind a project management desk. Pick the road that fits you. All right, Let's bring it all home. 5 takeaways from today. 1. Sole proprietorships and partnerships. Sole proprietorship equals unlimited personal liability, and it is not appropriate for commercial GC work. General partnership equals joint and several liability, which means you're responsible for your partner's unauthorized acts. Why it matters? Your personal assets are at risk. High risk, limited protection. 2. Corporations and LLCs. The S-Corp gives you pass-through taxation, no double tax, up to 100 shareholders, most common for small to mid GCs. The LLC gives you limited liability plus flexible taxation with no annual meetings, and it's the most popular new form in Texas. Why it matters? These protect your personal assets while giving you tax efficiency and flexibility. Most commercial GCs operate as an LLC or S-Corp. If you remember nothing else, remember that line. 3. Liability protection and business growth. The LLC or S-Corp gives you the best combination of liability protection and tax efficiency. And as your company grows, your legal structure should evolve with it. Why it matters? The right structure protects the business, builds credibility, and supports long-term growth and bonding capacity. Plan now for the company you want to become. For leadership styles, transactional, rules and consequences, best for safety and field compliance. Transformational, vision and inspiration, builds culture and long-term performance. And the lesson, great leaders adapt. Use the right style for the right situation and the right people. Leadership drives performance and retention. 5. Career tracks. The PM path, project engineer to project manager to VP, about 20 years, 65 to 175K plus. The field path, craft worker to superintendent to VP. And here's a fact worth knowing. Construction has one of the highest internal promotion rates of any industry. Why it matters? Clear paths exist for growth, impact, and income. Invest in your skills, your reputation, and your relationships. Build today, lead tomorrow. So that's the class. 2 big ideas. How a contractor is structured, and structure is about liability, taxation, bonding, and continuity. And how a contractor is led, matching your leadership style to the situation in front of you. Master both of those and you won't just have a job in this industry, you'll have a career. Next time, Class 13 on Tuesday, daily reports and digital documentation. We're getting into accuracy, accountability, and documentation, the paperwork that protects every project you'll ever run. See you then.